I'm Mustafa, your host. Welcome to the Illuminated Eye. Before we begin, I want to share something powerful with you, a quote that has guided my understanding of why we study history. Dr. John Henrik Clarke said, "History is a clock that people use to tell their political and cultural time of day. It is a compass they use to find themselves on the map of human geography. It tells them where they are, but more importantly, what they must be. That truth is our starting point, our North Star. If history is a clock, then Africa's was stolen, reset, and renamed. And if history is a compass, then millions have been walking in circles, searching for a north that was buried beneath colonization. They told us Africa was darkness waiting for discovery. But the real darkness was disconnection, the severing of mind from source. Every empire begins by redefining reality, separating the sacred from the scientific, the body from the soul, the human from the divine. Long before chains, there were stories designed to divide the world into ruler and ruled. Through that division, humanity fractured. Chancellor Williams called it a blueprint of destruction, the slow unweaving of memory until people forgot they were whole. Freedom without self-definition is still captivity. And when greatness wears another face, the fracture becomes generational. Yet beneath the silence, the ancestral mind breathes, patient, luminous, remembering its own rhythm. Erasure was never final, only interrupted. The African mind was not destroyed, it was displaced from its own reflection. To rebuild, we must understand the disease of division. Marimba Ani called it the Yurugu condition, a way of thinking that worships fragmentation and calls it order. It exalts control over connection and analysis over empathy. The world inherited that imbalance and confused it for intelligence. Through conquest, schooling, and scripture, the colonizer wrote a single script: separation as salvation. Spirit was exiled from intellect, and when the two were torn apart, the soul of humanity began to starve. Frantz Fanon spoke of the mask, the identity borrowed to survive a culture that denies its spirit. But beneath that mask lives an unbroken design, a geometry of soul that no empire could erase. Through drum, dance, and dream, the psyche kept its heartbeat. Language became code. Ritual became resistance. Even silence spoke in memory's tongue. Cheikh Anta Diop proved that civilization's first light rose from African hands. That truth isn't nostalgia. It's the immune system of the mind. When we see knowledge as harmony rather than hierarchy, the brain softens, the body breathes, and the spirit stands upright. Rebuilding the African mind is not rebellion against the West. It's reunion with the universe it forgot to honor. Every culture carries a memory system. When the written word betrayed us, the body kept score. Our songs, our art, our rituals became databanks of the spirit. To see ourselves through ancestral eyes is to break the cycle of borrowed identity. That sight turns education into remembrance and scholarship into healing. Science now confirms what the elders already knew. The brain rewires through story, rhythm, and belief. Each affirmation of truth becomes a neural bridge built back to wholeness. Amos Wilson reminded us that power is the ability to define reality. When we name ourselves, we reclaim that power. We become authors of the future, instead of characters in someone else's story. Rebuilding the African mind is a discipline of coherence, aligning thought, emotion, and memory until they move as one. Each mind that remembers adds its light to the collective field. This isn't just psychology, it's alchemy, turning forgotten pain into creative power. It's the moment the fragment becomes a universe again. The reconstruction of consciousness begins not in temples, but within thought itself. Reconstruction begins the moment thought and spirit walk together again. Across the world, classrooms are changing. African-centered schools, digital griots, and cultural architects are retuning the collective mind to balance. They are reminding the world that education was never meant to produce workers. It was meant to awaken creators. Every act of awareness repairs a link in the ancestral chain. Each time we speak truth without fear, we pull history back into alignment. I have seen men and women remember they were never property, they were potential. I have watched language become medicine and memory become movement. The blueprint of restoration is simple. Wherever disconnection once ruled, create relationship. Wherever shame lived, build meaning. Wherever silence grew, speak. Because to rebuild a civilization, we must first rebuild the inner architecture of the human being. That's where freedom begins, not in systems, but in self. The destruction was psychological. So is the resurrection. This journey is not about revenge. It's about restoration, the return to Mat, truth, balance, and reciprocity. It is about remembering that we were never broken, only interrupted. Each child taught that the divine speaks their language raises the frequency of freedom. Each ancestor honored in the mirror heals a fracture in the world's soul. History is not the past, it is the present, unfolding its memory through us. And when we see clearly, we realize we were never waiting for liberation. Liberation was waiting for us to remember who we are. I'm Mustafa, and this is the Illuminated Eye, where knowledge is medicine, memory is power, and consciousness is the key to the future. History is a clock, and our time has come back around.